afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of Homepage, your computer and internet show. I'm Libby Znaimer, filling in for David Onley this week. We want to welcome our viewers across Canada watching us now on Canadian Learning Television as well as on Cable Pulse 24. And we look forward to hearing from all of you. Our number is toll-free across Canada, so give us a call with your computer questions. Coming up on today's edition of Homepage, we'll check out a website that'll track your travels around the world. We'll look at another one for photo junkies. Xbox is having a fall launch party for new games, and we'll give you a pre-Christmas sneak peek. Ouch, Christmas. We'll also do some troubleshooting after last week's big blackout. There's also a new machine designed to help you breathe a little easier right in your own home. And we'll take your calls and questions today for Jim Sanderson. But first, how did you and your computer survive last week's big blackout? Did you lose everything? Need help getting back all of your data? Well, Bill Margison of CBL Data Recovery is here with some advice. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.
Well, how did we fare in this blackout as opposed to other times? Did a lot of people lose their data? How did we fare?
We had about a 60% increase in calls, but surprisingly not that many projects came in. There was a raft of activity on the Friday just in the midst of all the chaos, and they were all obviously hydro-related. Things have blown up, things extraordinary. But all in all, we weathered the storm significantly better than we weathered the ice storm a few years ago, where there was a similar phenomenon.
Do you have any idea why?
I think we're better prepared. I think there's been an increased awareness, kind of a business continuity consciousness that has been developing since 9/11.
Okay, did Y2K help our preparations for that?
Oh, that seemed to be a frenzy from our point of view, yeah. Long time ago, maybe the beginning of a change in thinking.
Okay, so just some practical advice if you did lose some data in the blackout, what should you do?
Well, don't panic. That's the first thing. The data's still there. It's always still there. The most important thing to realize, it's an electrically caused problem, so it's easily resolvable. You may not even need labs like ours.
So how do you figure out, first of all, if it's something that you can handle on your own? What are the things to go through?
Well, we always recommend taking it to a professional, possibly the person you purchased it from or their service department, and have someone knowledgeable with the correct tools have a look at it. And this is like a service stop. A quick look at things should be sufficient. What they can do for someone is to prove it's device-centric. In other words, the power surge didn't burn out the motherboard. It maybe has to be just the hard drive. Then it may be lab-worthy. But it needs to be looked at by a service person first to deduce if it's big trouble or little trouble.
Okay, I think this is probably a good time for, it's a very basic piece of advice, and I'm sure most of our viewers know this, but you should have a power bar so that in the event of an outage, if there's a surge, or if there's a surge anyway, I mean, I'm sure most people do that, but it's worth repeating, isn't it?
Yes, and that's very fundamental. You really need an uninterruptible power supply. If it's a small business, small home office, you really need this piece of equipment. That will allow you to survive when the lights go out for a short period of time, so you can turn things off correctly and safely. So when the hydro resumes, you just reboot and you're away and in business.
Now, what was the right thing to do? I mean, I guess a lot of people were caught unaware, so they left their computers on. Now, if something like that happens, the first thing you should do is go shut it off, right?
That's correct. That's correct. And let it sit for quite some time before you approach it again.
Okay, and again, is there any kind of tip you can give people if they're not in a position to go to a professional of how they can start seeing what's what if they've lost some stuff?
It is a fundamental setup that they could try, and that's to take this distress device, if they think their hard drive has failed, and take it to another computer and try and set it up in what's called a master-slave arrangement, using the master drive, the good computer, to see if it can control and talk to the distressed drive. This will prove once and for all if you have trouble or not. And most people have that ability, should you have the right screwdrivers and so on, to try this yourself.
Okay, and if they're not talking to each other, you have a big problem.
That's correct, and the hardware and software will let you know this. It will announce this to you quite simply, using the goodness of a good working drive, the master.
If you are going to a professional, do you have any idea how much are we talking about here?
Typically, problems that are electronic can go anywhere from about $250 for a resolution up to maybe $2,500. If it has to go to a clean room for repair, that's a big step. But most don't. Power surges end with what are called fusible links. It's supposed to pop. So, of course, it stopped working. They're not all that serious.
And what about if you just take it just for the checkup?
Oh, the checkup, yes, the service guys. You need to do maintenance on your PC around a regular basis. I'd recommend taking it to where you got it from at least once a year. There'll be improvements that could be made. You'll have some laments they can tune and tweak, and it's a wise investment for the longevity of your computer.
Okay, that sounds like good advice. Now, over and above all this blackout stuff, we have been troubled with a number of viruses over the last couple of weeks, I think. What do you have to say about those?
Well, dirty viruses, they didn't hurt any data. They just bogged things down. And the fact that things got bogged down in parallel with the blackout, that's an injury. But right now, the Internet's slowing down. The So Big F virus is really building, coming along. It's going to be one of the big ones. We'll know this time tomorrow. And it's doing nothing but slowing down mail servers, clogging the Internet arteries, and giving us all a little bit of sluggish performance.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean we'll know tomorrow? What's going to be the test?
It's still building. It's still building. It appears to be on track to overtake the I Love You virus.
Oh, no, that was a bad one.
Yes, but we'll know more. It's still active.
Now, is there anything that you can look for, any particular kind of files that you want to avoid in your computer, or?
Well, this last wave of 3 or 4 malevolent Trojans actually snuck in pretending to be system Windows files, system files. And of course, once you've let them in, they're in. They would have come as an attachment. The only protection is to update your antivirus software with the latest patch. And that's quite doable by now.
Mm-hmm. So if you've got it, but in the meantime, be very extra careful for any attachments?
That's correct. You need to use antivirus software nowadays to block any attachments from coming in. That'll save you. Mm-hmm. The solution to close the Windows exploit, as it's called, is to go to the Microsoft homepage and get their patch from there.
Mm-hmm. What about what's the blaster worm?
Oh, it was I guess the vanguard of what's happened in the last week or so. Excuse me. An incredible little virus, a worm that comes into your machine and then begins to propagate itself by using your email list, sending itself to all your friends and neighbors, who in turn send it to their friends and neighbors, and it causes a lot of havoc, slowing things down.
Mm-hmm. And is that one under control or also building?
Yes, that one's under control. It seems to have been, at the end of the day, a bit of a dud. But the So Big virus doesn't appear to be the dud. It's going to be active all night long. I predict people will have difficulties online tonight.
Okay, so watch out for that one. That's very good advice. Okay, Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And remember, our homepage is interactive. We'll be answering your questions a little later in the show. 3 lucky viewers who call or email us with a question will win a prize pack, either a Microsoft keyboard and mouse or a video game. Today we're giving away a Spy Kids Challenger and a Game Boy Advance, a Spy Kids 3D for the PC, and Finding Nemo for PlayStation 2. Here's how to reach us. By email, it's homepage at pulse24.com. By phone, it's 416-872-CP24. Long distance, 1-888-863-CP24. And it's time for a short break here on homepage. When we come back,